All right, welcome to I Am Sure Sports. I am Omar Stennett, and we are here live again for one more show. Thank you again for joining. Thank you again for subscribing. Thank you again for being part of the movement. This is a place where you get a wide range of discussion on sports and sporting topics. We cover things that are not on, your regular media platforms, and we seek to educate, to enhance, and to add value to people's life. And so I want to thank you. I want to welcome you. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night to you wherever you are watching from. Today's show is really a form of you know detaching myself from what is happening with the World Cup campaign until tomorrow morning when the birds come and provide me with information. Right, I have not been heeding the messages from the birds because I wanted to stay away from that and wanted to focus on another aspect of football. But before we get into all of that, again, I want to thank all the subscribers. We are at 953 subscribers, and before the end of this video would like to hit the 1,000 subscriber mark. So as soon as you come on, please make sure you like, you subscribe to the channel. You share the link so someone else can subscribe. You let them know what we are doing. You let them know that we are on. um, so I'm going to play our video that we normally play so you can see and know what the channel is about. But before we do that, let me take this time again to thank all our nurses, doctors, medical practitioners, person administrating the vaccines, the porters in the hospitals, the persons who drive the ambulance, the security guards in the hospitals and health centers all across Jamaica. On behalf of the entire Jamaica, we want to stop to say thank you for the incredible, incredible, incredible task you're doing of serving us in providing quality health care to enhance and to change people's life. You're not able to save anyone, but you're saving many lives. And we want to say thank you to you and to encourage you to keep on doing what you're doing, though it is very difficult in these times. You don't have all the necessary resources, but you have our support, you have our love, and you have our prayers. Again, we appreciate you and we love your endless sacrifice for this nation, for our families, and for our friends. So keep on doing what you're doing. Let me just now introduce you to I Am Sure Sports, and then we will invite tonight's very special guest to the show. I am sure sports.
I am sure sports. You know me there, from coast to coast representing. I mean, I say this is righteous representing for Omar. You don't know, come get your sports over here from near and far. Boy, 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 boy. Me say I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. If me not sure, that me not say it. Know who score, that me not say it. Never know no game play, that me not say it. If me never see no game, me not know who play. For your sports news, better come over here so. For your soccer news, then come over here so. If you don't love sports, still come over here so. For the day done, you a go love over here so.
So when it comes on to behavior concerning football, Jamaica is decent. I am sure that if we can get all of these things done, set in place by the end of April, it gives us enough time before the World Cup campaign. Not afraid of no Brazil, no Argentina with these crapper players. We are good enough. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Listen, comment. Let me know what your thoughts are.
Yo, watch about dog, SK New Air this. The body out there, Sniper King I represent for I Am Sure Sports. You get to me, I say, when you want the latest news and sports and updates and all of that, check out I Am Sure Sports. You know the thing goes in. Remember, you cover the whole island. Remember Kingston, Westmoreland, Galchester, Ocho-Race, Galtigo Bay, everywhere. I Am Sure Sports. Check it out for the latest news and latest updates. Sniper King I represent. Where them feel like, ha. Yeah, someone on for the food from we young, from we day, you need height. I Am Sure Sports. Yeah, dog.
Well, there you go, people. I am sure sports. Again, welcome, 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 welcome. This evening, we have a very special guest, very good friend of mine, a very beautiful, intelligent, articulate, all the adjectives that we can find. I'm telling you, very smart, healthy, strong. I don't know if I can any longer call her a Trini, or I need to call her Jatrini, meaning, there's some strong Jamaican, because she has been here for a very, very long time on the island of Jamaica, is schooling here, and now works here. And like I said, very good friend of mine. Her name is Joanne Smith, and she's a doctor. Um, so it's Dr. Joanne Smith, and she is a nutritionist and a lecturer at the University of the West Indies. So why don't you stand with me and give a big drum roll for our very special guest coming in from the right-hand corner, coming in with a weight of 105 pounds. I mean, beautiful, always smiling. Trini Jamaican Trini, Dr. George Smith. There you go, people.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. Smith. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. And how are you?
I am giving thanks. With this whole lockdown thing has been very difficult, but we give thanks. We give thanks that we have life, that we're in the best of health in the midst of all that is happening. Yeah, man.
Yes, that is true. But I'm taking this time that we have any lockdown to try to reflect, and try to take stock of what's happening around us and try to make the best of it. So I'm doing that as well.
Awesome. Listen, so we want to have this discussion today, just looking at how, in these difficult times, you're on lockdown, how as sporting athletes, you can probably, still eat healthy, maintain healthy diet. And also, we want to look at how important is a balanced diet and good health in times of lockdown, to kind of maintain your mental health,
Yes,
your focus, because I mean, what is the connection with poor health and stress at the same time? How could that affect you just emotionally and mentally, especially for many athletes who have been out of sports for several months? I mean,
yeah,
almost getting close to 2 years, and especially in Jamaica, where the major sports that has been restarted is football. We had a boys' champs, we have some football going on, but it's only at one level. All right, but we're
right.
not we're not going to jump into all of that. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about you? Where you're from. How did you get here, and what do you do here? So go ahead, and the floor is
Sure,
yours.
no problem. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to your viewers. And I also echo what you said earlier about the nurses and the medical staff and the doctors who are on the front line with the COVID pandemic now and working really hard to try and keep us safe and healthy. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So I am a nutritionist and lecturer. I actually work at the Caribbean Institute for Health Research here at the University of the West Indies, and I am involved more in research, um, primarily more in child development, but I also do some nutrition research focusing on energy metabolism. So, how our body uses energy and how this energy is used to help to maintain our body weight or help to increase our body weight or decrease our body weight, depending on what our goals are. I also help to help with persons with nutrition counseling. So I provide consultations to persons who may have different conditions or chronic diseases like diabetes, hypertension, those who may be overweight, to help them gain um, the knowledge that they need to make the right choices where their health is concerned, especially with nutrition. So I think that's it in a nutshell. But I also enjoy having opportunities like you have provided here, where I can get to speak to viewers, answer their questions, and help them to make the choices that are needed for a healthy lifestyle.
Oh, wonderful. That sounds like a whole lot of science, and you know that some of those big words, metabolism, and all of those things, maybe going over some of our heads, right? Because immediately one of the things that came out of what you said is the fact that you can help people who are overweight. I mean, what is considered overweight? Like, is there an average weight you're supposed to be when you're a certain height? And like this amount over it is overweight. You can live within this age, this weight range, based on this particular height. How does that work? Could you explain that for the persons who are out there watching?
Sure. So usually what we use in health is something called a body mass index or BMI. So that helps to screen persons and to classify them to see whether they are underweight, normal weight, or overweight. So if a person, and this index that they use uses your weight and your height to try to help define where you are in terms of your classification. So you take your weight in kgs. So most persons know their weight in pounds. So say a person knows their weight is 150 pounds. You change it to kgs, and to do that, you divide it by 2.2, and then you will take your height. And most persons know their height in like feet and inches, but we will need to get your height into meters squared. So to do that, you're going to have to take your height, change it from feet to inches, multiply by 2.54, and then we will get your height in centimeters. And then when you get it in centimeters, you will divide that by 100, and that is you're going to be your height in meters squared, and then multiply that by itself. So when you find out your BMI, which usually for a normal person is between 18.5 to 25, that's a normal weight. That's a normal body mass index. So that person, and you realize that's a wide range, 18.5 to 25. That's a normal range. And that person can actually lead a healthy life once they are able to maintain their diet. And I'll go into that later on. But a person who may be overweight, which is a person from 25 to about 30 kgs per meter squared, that person is considered as overweight, and that person would need to try to get into the normal weight category by losing weight, making changes, lifestyle changes. And then we have the obese category. When you're over 30 and over, then you're considered as obese. Now, persons who are considered obese are at risk of chronic diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and these conditions and cardiac diseases or heart diseases that really impact your health. And we really try to help those persons achieve their weight goals to try to get them back into the normal range. And we do this with different strategies, work with persons where they are. So if you don't know what to do, we help you get on the right track. So that's how we classify body weight using that BMI classification. But we don't only use that. So sometimes a person, so say for instance, we look at a bodybuilder. A bodybuilder would be a big muscular person. So they may have a high BMI, but not be at risk of certain conditions because of their the high muscle mass that they have compared to their percentage body fat. So we also take that into consideration when we look at BMI.
Okay. So a bodybuilder may be over the 18 to 25, but that
Right.
don't mean that they're overweight, because the distribution of that weight is
Weight.
balanced. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I see. All right. Very, very interesting. So you hear that, people, that is one way of calculating. You kind of hear the range is between 18 BMI to
So
25. That's
18.5.
your 18.5.
18.5 to 24.9 is usually the range that they say is a normal weight. And then when you get from 25 to 30 is overweight. And then 30 and over will be obese.
Okay, what about the person who says, well, the 20, I am 25 to 30, but it's just my belly. I have big belly.
Right.
Is that right? Is that because a lot of persons have put on probably a lot of weight, but it is belly weight because
Right.
they're probably not playing any more football. They have not
Mhm.
been able to go out and walk. All of that physical activity that they were used
Right.
to um, before the pandemic, they are not able to. So they have just been at home eating, not exercising, not maintaining any diet because you're probably stuck on a lot of junk food and stuff because you're probably at home, eat more bun and cheese and all of that kind of crazy stuff.
Right.
So your belly is getting bigger, but you don't look overweight. You just look out of shape, right?
Right.
Is there a difference with that? Like even if your belly is big, it is still considered overweight because it's outside that BMI.
Yes. So that is another criteria we use, waist circumference. So a lot of persons, when they see the waist circumference increasing, where they have to buy bigger pants or bigger skirts or bigger sizes in clothes, you realize that the weight is getting concentrated around your abdominal area. But you also have to realize that a lot of your organs are there as well. So that puts you at increased risk for other chronic diseases too. So you need to ensure that when you see your weight starting to increase around, especially around your belly, you need to try to take steps to get that down to a normal range again. And these steps are usually like some persons would when I tell them the simple steps that they can do, they say that's simple, that easy, that you can do it. Yes, it is something that we want to encourage you to do as a lifestyle. And I'm going to go through those steps later on in the broadcast. But I want you to, when you see your waist circumference increasing, you need to take stock and say, okay, for men, if you have a waist circumference over 102 centimeters, then you're at high risk. For women, over 88 centimeters, you're at risk. So we need to ensure that your waist circumference is not over a certain
Is that over those numbers that you just mentioned?
over those numbers, right? So
Wow,
try to get them back to normal range.
wow. You see, I didn't even know that because some person just think like big belly is in style. Especially for men. I don't think men watch that a whole lot because for some men that's probably normal. They are not so conscious about their physical shape, and big belly kind of
Right.
comes with a certain clout. I must say wrongly so as it is. Very
Right.
true. Right. All
But you
right.
need to definitely consider that your organs are being surrounded by fat once the base starts increasing. So they may start malfunctioning and not functioning optimally. So you need to definitely take stock of that.
Okay. And then is a balanced diet enough to maintain your weight, or is a specific diet, or is it a balanced diet along with physical exercise? And where you can't go outdoors, how do you do that? One of the things I've heard from many persons, even in sports, is that but they can't afford certain things again. They can't, probably some of the things that they would eat to kind of help them maintain or drink, whatever it is, they're not able to afford those things because they're working less hours, and they weren't professional, though they were involved in sports. They were more amateurs. And so no, I can't buy that. I used to have that when I was in school because the school provided. No, I'm 20. I can't afford those things. How do I, how do I maintain this in these conditions where money is limited? Is there a cheaper or a more inexpensive alternative to the things that I normally would do that keeps me healthy, but gives me the same ability to function in the sporting disciplines as I would used to?
Right. So what I would tell a lot of athletes, like a lot of athletes who would have been purchasing a lot of supplements, maybe. to help with their diet regime. You can get a lot of the supplements or the nutrients you would have been receiving from your supplements from your regular diet. So what you need to just consider is the portion control. How much of this would I consume? So say for instance, a person only has access to a few vegetables. So let's say some vegetables you may have at home. You say you have lettuce, tomato, carrots, cabbage, but you are not sure how much of each of these vegetables or how to prepare it in a way that is healthy. What I would say is ensure that you are consuming food from the food groups daily. So let me go into the food groups. So the food groups, we have starches, like you have your carbohydrates, like your rice, your whole grains, and you would have another your maybe like yam, sweet potato, these things. So in a regular Jamaican diet, you have access to these foods and you can use them to help you maintain your weight, but try to eat local. So we would try to have your sweet potato, your yam, your banana as your starches. And then we go into our grains, like your legumes, like red beans, your green and leafy vegetables like your callaloo, and then you have your pumpkin, which are orange vegetables. So try to eat the colors and try to eat this in and try to get more variety of these in your diet. Then you would have the meats. Now, a lot of persons say, "Oh, I want to eat meat," but they don't eat it in a way that is healthy. So they may not prepare it. They may prepare it fried, so they add in too much extra fats there, and they may eat the skin. So the skin also has extra fat that you don't necessarily need in your
So
diet.
we're not supposed to eat the skin.
No, you're not, because that is too much fat that you're consuming there. Yes.
Okay.
So you
Continue
try to
now.
eat the lean cuts of meat. Try not to have a lot of processed foods like the corned beef or the smoked food meats. You try to reduce the amount of those in your diet,
When
and
hold
then
on,
you'd have
hold on a second. It's
sure,
just
go ahead.
when you said corned beef, are you talking about what Jamaican call bully beef? Are you talking
Yes,
about
bully beef. Yes,
bully? Just want to make sure because there's corned beef that is
yes,
different. That is when the beef is corned, and then there's bully beef, which is what you're speaking of. All right, well, go ahead.
yes. So when you have your bully beef and you want to eat your and even with your mackerel and your saltfish, when you have to reduce how much of these foods you would have in your diet, because you're trying to really reduce the amount of processed food. So the more natural the food in your diet, the better it is for you. And then you can add a little bit of fat. So usually I will say like the fat we get in our foods, you usually you could use like coconut oil or you could use sunflower oils or those oils or olive oil if you want to. And you try to reduce the amount of sugar and salt that you add to your foods. So these are the foods that you have in your regular diet. And even for athletes, um, they can try to eat more for the protein that they may need. They can have more dairy products. So more of the low fat milks and these things would give them a lot of whole proteins that they need. And even when the exercise is concerned, a lot of persons can't go outside. But I always tell persons you can exercise by dancing, or even when you're in your house, doing something exciting. You can do that. You can use dancing, or even when you're cleaning your house as a form of exercise.
Okay, okay. So get all the colors in your diet. That's one way. And how do I know? Because how do I know the portion?
The portions, right?
Because I
That's
think that is
another.
part of the other issue. A lot of people say, well, I eat a lot of this, I eat a lot of that. But
Mhm.
is the portion too much? Is it too much of? Can it be you're eating too much carrots? Can there be too much carrots? Or it's never enough? Or can there be too much chicken? Can there be too much fish? Can there be too much starch? Or
Right.
yeah, what does that look like? Yeah.
Okay, sure. So when you are eating, so think about the starch. So starchy vegetable, starchy foods, you have about, depending on a normal person with about 150 pounds, you can have like 60, 11 servings. So what is a serving of starch? A serving of starch is one slice of bread, not the harder bread, but the thinner slice, like the giant bread. So harder bread is usually harder bread is usually a serving and a half. So you have the one slice of bread is a
One
serving.
slice.
One slice is a serving, yes. And if it's harder bread, 1.5 slices would be a serving. A half cup of rice is a serving, and you would have like a half cup of pasta. So and half cup of the yam, banana, and one small finger of banana is a serving. And then even for sweet potato, half cup of that is a serving as well. So you realize if you only have 6 servings of that for the day, you realize that once, if you have 2 slices of bread for breakfast and then you have a cup of rice for lunch, you only have 2 more servings of starch left for the day. So a lot of persons try to find different ways of incorporating more vegetables in the diet. So that's why I'll say it for persons, try to at least eat 2 to 5 servings of vegetables per day and try to incorporate it in each meal. Have a steamed vegetable and a raw vegetable in your diet.
This is
And
very
when you come to
difficult.
meat, go ahead.
This is very difficult because to ask like what a half serving of rice, half cup of
Half cup
rice,
of rice, yes, is a serving.
a normal person, right, will tell you that they probably have 2 cups of rice minimum in one
Yes,
serving. All right,
right,
per day. All
right.
right. When we're doing bananas, most persons probably have 3 fingers of banana,
Hmm.
probably a piece of yam, and what they call like 4 or 5, probably 3 dumplings. All
Right.
right. With a lot of hot gravy,
Hmm.
with some curry chicken or whatever, right? And I don't know if there's any vegetables here. At breakfast time, it's like 4 slices of bread because it's two, so you can put the egg in. You probably want 2 sandwiches per se.
Right.
So what you're suggesting is, if you have that in the morning, what you need to do is to reduce the amount of rice. And if you have that amount of rice in the lunchtime,
During
then you
lunchtime
probably ought not to have any more starch for the rest
for
of
the rest of the day. Hmm.
yes. Okay. This person is saying that you're making them feel unhealthy right now.
Oh, I'm very sorry about that. But a lot of times, because we don't know that what we're eating is not helping us, we don't make the right choices. But now that we are getting the knowledge or getting an idea of what we can consume that will help to keep us healthy, then we can make better choices when we go out to eat or when we are preparing meals at home. We can help our families to be healthier and help us to be healthier as well.
Okay. So
And I'm happy.
no,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was happy that you brought up the gravy section, the gravy point, because a lot of persons love to see their rice swimming in gravy. And gravy is a place where a lot of the fat hides as well. So we try to reduce that too. So if persons have to have gravy, I usually tell them have 1 tablespoon. But if you don't need to have it, then don't.
Do you know? A tablespoon is like taking medicine, because
It's very small.
there are doses of medicine that a tablespoon of gravy. Uh, I'm
Yes.
very persons in the comment section. I want you to tell me which one are you when you put in gravy on your rice or in the bowl with your dumpling. It is a tablespoon. I am sure, because this is I am sure sports, that most normal people don't do
Yes.
that. But it is necessary. But I like what you said, because I think maybe this is what we can do. We look at, and what would happen if we do this is that at the end of the day, we'd probably have a lighter meal than a
Right.
heavy meal, because if you're reducing stuff based on what you do in the morning and in the lunchtime, then in the evening you have had your full intake of starch, your full intake of whatever it is. So
Right.
but for most Jamaicans, especially now, one of the things I realize is that the heaviest meal is probably the late meal, dinner.
Right. Yes. And that's
Right.
something that a lot of persons, I tell them that they need to change, to reverse that. So you have your heaviest meal for breakfast or lunch and your lightest meal for dinner. So if you want to have your boiled dumpling, your yam, banana, and probably if you want to have your curry chicken or um your stew chicken, which of course, yes, with the 1 tablespoon of gravy. If you want to have that for breakfast, you can, breakfast or lunch, but don't have it for dinner because the energy that you get from that food, you want your body to be able to use it up for your daily activities. But if you have it late in the night, what your body's going to do, because it doesn't have anywhere to use it up because you're sleeping, is going to store it. And that's where it's going to start storing around your belly area. And when your body starts storing food or start storing the energy that you get from your foods, it starts storing it as fat. And the fat is very difficult to get rid of once it starts attaching itself to your body. So you try to eat your heaviest meal for breakfast or lunch, and then try to have your lightest meal for dinner. And then a lot of persons too also have a lot of sugar sweetened beverages. So you have your syrup, you have your soda. Those things I usually tell them to try to reduce them to one a week if you need it, but you don't. And try to have water with your meals instead of drink or juice.
Okay.
Have
So
water instead.
what would be the cutoff time? What would you recommend as if it's past 5 o'clock? If it's past,
Right.
based on, I mean, you're coming home from work to bed and go to bed, watch TV, go to bed. So if it's 5 o'clock, you can't. I mean, it's a cutoff time because lunch, that heavy meal should up to 3 o'clock, up to 4 o'clock. Um, what time or how close to, how far away from bedtime should that last
Right.
meal be?
Sure. So for your last meal, you should have it at least 3 hours before your bedtime. So I know for a lot of persons that is a very long time. So say your bedtime is 9 o'clock, your last meal is supposed to be at 6. But if your bedtime is at 12 o'clock in the night, that doesn't mean your last meal can be at 9 either, because usually your body has something called a circadian rhythm, where your body, depending on what time you sleep and get up, your body, usually goes into at rest at a certain time. So I try to tell persons, try to have your last meal by 7 o'clock, so that your body can get time to rest, relax, digest, and then you can sleep more comfortably and recuperated and rested for the next day.
Right. Someone is asking, what about drinking water? How does that affect dieting?
Drinking water is very important. So you drink water with each meal. So some persons actually drink a glass of water before each meal, and that helps to reduce how much you consume in a meal because your stomach is already filled with some water, so you don't eat as much. And I
Okay.
also would encourage persons, when you're drinking water, you try to ensure that you don't get thirsty. So once you get thirsty, that means your body is actually in a state of dehydration already. So you try to make sure that you're hydrated throughout the day. Have a bottle of water next to you, sipping and drinking throughout the day, so that you are hydrated. Especially when it's hot in the summer now, you're sweating a lot. We need to ensure that we are hydrated.
So you're not supposed to get dehydrated, really. You're not. Your body's not supposed to be tired because of dehydration.
Right?
Okay.
It's not.
Well. Okay.
And because
So.
that is because your body would then be different chemicals in your body will start to actually be triggered when your body is in dehydrated state. So you try not to let your body become dehydrated. Try to keep as hydrated as possible, and try to ensure that you drink water with your meals. So usually, what a lot of persons would do is you observe um, how your body operates, how your body functions, how your body feels, and you try to ensure that you stay hydrated.
Okay. So always have water close by. I like the recommendation to drink a glass of water before. It's kind of something that some of the fast food restaurants do. They give you the cup to go and drink the soda, and so by the time you finish drinking the soda, you can't eat up the rest of the meal. So maybe that's a good recommendation to
Yes.
drink a glass of water before you actually have a meal, because
Yes.
that way, right. Somebody about that rhythm doc. How does that affect persons that work shift jobs?
Right. So that's why a lot of persons, when you're on a shift job, you need to try to um maintain a 4 hour cycle of eating. So if you work, say for instance, a night shift where you work from 7 to 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. in the morning, you try to say eat every 4 hours. So you have your dinner at 7. You may have a light snack because you may feel hungry, especially if you're working at night. You have a light snack like crackers or something just to keep you up until, and then you would have something, your breakfast in the morning. But your body would, yes, your body goes into rhythm, but your body also recognizes when something is not usual. So if you go back to a regular, after that night shift, you go back to your regular time of going to bed at night and stuff, your body would go back into the regular cycle. So don't worry too much, but also understand how your body is feeling. So if you realize that when you eat the meal or when you are working at night, you realize that you feel tired, you feel sluggish, you don't have the energy that you need, you may need to consume, as I said before, more water, but you also may need to look at your diet to see what foods you're consuming to ensure that you're not overloading your system by having too much high fat foods, and try to ensure that you eat more vegetables, more fruits, these things that can help you stay hydrated, but also stay in a healthy weight, and also help you get the nutrients and the energy that you need to keep you through, especially when you're working in the night shift.
Yeah, I remember growing up, people say to me that eating rice, white rice, is kind of pointless. Like, because the portion that you have to eat to get any sort of nutrients from it, because it's so low in terms of the nutritional value, that the portion of it that you'd have to eat to get something, it really don't make any sense, because the amount you'd have to eat in one setting for it to be of any significant benefit to you, it wouldn't make any sense. So now I'm hearing I shouldn't even have more than a cup. I'm thinking like, or half a cup. I'm thinking like, then
Right.
should it even then be my diet? Because a half a cup offers me nothing at all, based on what I've heard.
Right.
So maybe that was inaccurate. But what do you have to say about that? Because that's what I heard
Yes.
growing up. Right.
Yes, especially with white rice doesn't really have any nutritional value. It doesn't really add anything to our diet. So a lot of persons, when you are trying to eat healthy, you try to stay away from rice. If you have to have it, you combine with rice and peas, or you can combine with a vegetable like have a pumpkin rice or callaloo rice or something to help give it a little more nutritional value. But again, you also have other foods that you can consume, like your sweet potato or your yam instead of the rice that you can. And the thing is, why I would also discourage persons from eating rice is because it is a simple carbohydrate. So it just goes into your body, it gets breaks down very quickly into glucose, and your body has this high sugar, the sugar high, and then you feel lethargic after or tired after because your your glucose levels go low again once it's digested. But if you have something like a sweet potato or yam, because of the high fiber content, because it's a complex carbohydrate and has a higher fiber content and has more nutrients in it, it goes through your system slower, so you don't have that big sugar rush that you would have with rice. And it helps to maintain your sugar levels and helps you feel fuller for longer and helps with your balance, your daily intake and your balance.
Yeah. All right. I have a next question from Joseph here. It
Sure.
says, for a person who engage in hard training, what's the dieting recommendations comparable to regular persons?
Okay, for persons who are doing a lot of training, especially if
Football,
they
I
have
mean, like probably like football, especially sports like football, track and field,
right.
cricket.
Once you're training for more than 90 minutes, you definitely need to have a high carbohydrate content in your diet. And this is not just having like soda or sugar, but having complex carbohydrates in your diet that can help you build the glycogen stores in your muscles that you would need for endurance. Because when you think about athletes, you have the nutrients that we need for
But,
performance and then
sorry,
nutrients we need for
before you go on to,
recovery.
don't lose that point. But before you get to that,
Sure.
what are some of those complex carbohydrates? When you say that, not just your regular soda and stuff. What are some of those? I think you said they have to drink more like complex carbohydrates. What
Sure.
are some? What are some of those?
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, and then you can.
No problem. So when you're thinking about athletes and you're thinking about how they eat and the foods that they eat, and you're thinking about the carbohydrates. Now, the carbohydrates are where we get the energy very quickly because the body doesn't it breaks it down, and the energy gets to our muscles quicker. So when I say complex carbohydrate, it's carbohydrate that is comes with a lot of fiber with it. So that's like as I said before, the sweet potato, yam, whole grains, these whole grain cereals. These things are complex carbohydrates that we have, even the green bananas that we have in the diet. Those are complex carbohydrates because yes, they're carbohydrates, but they also have other nutrients that they come with and high in fiber that helps our body not only with the energy that it needs, but also helps with digestion and helps you to, be better able to have a good digestive system, which is also important. So for athletes, you have your complex carbohydrates. You do a lot of carbohydrate loading, which where you eat a lot of carbohydrates. So in a regular diet, you have about 55% of your diet in carbohydrates. For athletes who are doing strength training or those kind of high intensity training, you'd have 70% of your diet in carbohydrates. And then you would have about 30% in terms of protein and then a little bit of fat. And when you talk about fat, you don't talk about the a lot of persons will have a lot of high fat or high saturated fat. We talk about low fat items here. So low fat milk, low fat butter, or low fat margarine, and these things that you add to your diet. So we would want to try for persons who are doing strength training to ensure that you have the amount of energy you need for performance. You have a high carbohydrate diet, but also ensure that you have enough protein because your body, when you're in the recovery stage, needs the protein for repair to help you build back your muscles that may have been that the amino acids, especially for your muscles that you may have lost during this training. So that's
So,
also important.
whoa, I mean, very, very, very straight ital diet. This person they said that straight ital diet, which all ital diet is no salt. I mean, is that
Right.
sufficient to just? Am I okay if I take salt out of my diet? Is that the only thing? Like, what if I'm eating everything else but no salt? Right?
Right. So
Or
that's also
is there more to diet than just taking salt out of your diet? Because a lot of people say, well, a person who is ital is way more healthier. Is it
mhm.
actually so?
The thing is, so the true ITAL diet doesn't have a lot of salt, doesn't have a lot of fat in it. But in the ITAL diets that we have available now in the mainstream, they use a lot of high fat, they use a lot of sugar in their foods. So you may have no the low salt, but you may have high fat content. So you try to even if you have an ITAL diet or you try not to eat a lot of meats, you try or you have a low salt diet, you try to ensure that you are balancing it in terms of the other like the try to reduce the amount of added sugar you have in your meals and try to ensure that you keep or maintain the regular intake of vegetables, regular intake of the other like proteins that are from your beans and legumes. Try to ensure that you're getting that from your diet as well. So low salt is fine. For athletes, they may need to have a little more salt because they may be losing salt with sweat and they may losing a lot of nutrients. So they may need to replenish that after. So they may have a sports drink, which usually has salt in it. But yeah, so I thought that I can work, but you just need to ensure that it's not high in fat or um
Yeah,
other other
he has
things that
upgraded
can
his
be.
suggestion from ital to vegan food, which is which is fine. But
Ah,
so it's more vegan he's speaking to, and that's Travis. But Joseph again says, explain the benefits, if any, of fruits and vegetables to a person in training. I mean,
all right,
in training for competition, whether it are in
sure.
sports.
So fruits and vegetables actually are beneficial because they give you a lot of nutrients. Especially like if you have the citrus fruits like the oranges, the tangerine, even I like Jimbalin or June plum or these things, they actually have a lot of nutrients that are needed for athletes. Because you need your vitamin C's, you need your vitamin B's, that you get from your vegetables. So these are important for athletes, and they should try to consume this as much as possible in their diet.
Okay.
So they
All right.
are
So
beneficial.
okay. All right. So there has been this recent development in a couple of female athletes. That's their gender, and they spoke about them having high testosterone
Yes.
levels, and a lot of that. Some persons have concluded that it is because the distinguishing their sex at birth could be not as sophisticated in those cultures than it is in Western culture. Is how can also your diet add to your testosterone levels? Uh, are there things that persons can eat that would reduce this high testosterone level? And then the other hand is, are there certain foods that that if eaten consistently, it will push that testosterone level to above normal? And do you know what the normal levels of testosterone in a female should be and in a male should be?
Okay. So when it comes to testosterone and estrogen. So estrogen and testosterone are two hormones that we have. That everyone has them in the body, but for females you have more estrogen and testosterone, and for males more testosterone than estrogen. But a lot of females, especially with their estrogen levels, if you have a very high fat diet, that would affect your estrogen levels, and that would also affect your testosterone levels. I'm not quite sure right now of the values in terms of how much of each a person should have in their system, but I do know that a high fat diet usually predisposes a person to having higher estrogen or testosterone levels, depending. Um, I would say for persons who are consuming a lot of meat products, especially when you're consuming a lot of the high fat parts of the meats, like for chicken with the wing, or for if somebody has pork, or if somebody has beef where they have a lot of fat in there. So a lot of these fat hormones actually affect our hormone levels. So you try to reduce those in your diet and try to have less of that.
Okay, I see. So a lot of those, what affects the hormone level is probably the amount of meat, the pork and chicken, and I see, great.
Yes,
No, so here it is that I am here trying to have a very low cost, low budget diet, but
yes,
still want enough energy to play at the highest level to in the schoolboy competition going up. But my mother can't afford to buy some of these expensive dairy products out there. We're stuck
mhm,
at home with just with few local banana, and when we're making juice, it's some lime and some sugar we have to do because we can't get Gatorade and stuff. Are there ways that when you don't have all the money, you can use things around the house or in the home to still maintain um, a healthy enough diet that still gives you enough energy to do sport? And what is that like? Could you give us some simple recommendation? Like, listen, if you eat an egg in the morning and eat an apple or a mango or a couple slices, and you eat one dumpling and banana, that would give you enough energy and it will still keep you healthy. Is there any recommendation that you have in terms of that? And then we have a next question from Josie.
Sure, no problem. So I think for persons who may not have who may want to have like a low cost idea of how to eat healthy when you don't have a lot of funds around, what I would say to a person is try to eat your colors and try to eat a variety of foods. So try not to stick to one thing. So say for instance, you only have chicken available as the main meat source in your house. So you would have your chicken, you try to um, say mix it with your vegetables. So say you only have cabbage available, or you may only have maybe Irish potato or those things. You can mix it with your meat, and that will be fine. Then you have your tomatoes, you have your carrots. If you can afford that, you would include those in your diet as well. So with the sugar sweetened beverages, so like your lime juice and stuff, I would try to encourage persons to eat the fruit as fresh as possible. So try not to have a lot of drinks. So if you have your lime, you can squeeze a little bit of lime in your water and have that without adding any sugar to it. You can have your regular fruit. So if you have like gimbling in your house or in your yard, or if you have mangoes around your property or even in your neighborhood, you can have that. But try not to have a lot of mangoes. So for mangoes, I tell a lot of persons have one medium mango a day. And then if you want to have for dinner, you can have bread, but try if you're having bread to make sure that it is whole wheat or whole grain bread. So not the white bread, unless you have a medical condition that prevents you from having white bread. But have like whole wheat breads. You can have that with um, your chicken, your fish, and then you would have your vegetables as well. So you try to get a variety, try not to stick with one thing, and I think include as much of the different foods in natural colors as possible in your diet, and you should be fine.
So we have a question here from Joseph. So here it is. Does consuming genetically modified food expose persons to fluctuating testosterone or estrogen levels?
Mm. There is some debate about that because persons are saying, okay, because they are genetically modifying these foods, it may influence our hormonal levels, and they are finding, well, I'm not sure how conclusive the evidence is for that, but we should be investigating it. And yes, we should try to stay away from GMO foods, but if we look at the dietary changes over time, we realize that a lot of the foods that we're consuming, even if we don't think that they are genetically modified, they are. So we need to ensure that we eat as organic as possible. So try to eat local, as they say. Try to ensure that when you are consuming your foods, you try to eat it in as natural form as possible, and try not to do too much of the heating or um, eating too much of the processed foods to try to reduce your risk of having these fluctuations in your hormone levels. So yes, but I'm not sure about how strong the evidence is right now, but it is possible that these can influence our hormone levels.
This is awesome. So because some of the things I'm learning is that regardless of what your budget is, you can still eat healthy
Yes,
by being simple. And then the time that you eat is also important, and the portion that you
portion
eat
control.
is also important. Again, because our culture is um, we don't really look at portion. If it's
Right.
not enough, if we feel like we have not been served. You know, we have to have a certain portion of rice, a certain amount of dumplings, a certain. You can imagine putting one dumpling and one banana and a piece of yam. People gonna ask you, what is this? You think I'm a baby? But portions are important, and then, I love when you shared about the time that you eat and how it could even affect your sleep because of the time your body gets to break down all of that food and things. But I'd love for you to expound a little bit more on that because is it that the food doesn't break down when you're sleeping? What happens to the food when you eat late and then
Right.
you go to bed? Is that your body stop breaking down the food? It takes a longer time to break it down, or it doesn't break down any at all?
Okay.
Does your body go and rest and the food keeps working? What happens?
Okay. So the thing with our bodies, so our bodies have a rhythm where it works, and it helps us to function, do things we need to do, like our work around the house or walking or talking and everything. But when our body is supposed to be at rest, which is supposed to be at least for 8 hours a day, our body needs not to be focusing on digesting food, but on replenishing or helping our muscles and our tissues to replenish itself. So when you are asking your body while you're sleeping to digest your food, it's taken away from the job it's supposed to be doing at that time of replenishing our system, trying to repair, looking at seeing, making sure our tissues are lining up properly, making sure our everything is functioning properly. When your body is supposed to be doing that, it's going to be focusing on digesting food. I mean, when we wake up, then we feel tired and we may feel even more hungry because our body has been working digesting the food while we are sleeping. So when I am asking persons, when you are consuming your meals, so yes, you want to consume it at least 3 hours before you go to bed to give your body enough time to digest it. And then when you go to sleep, your body can focus on repair and recovery instead of having to focus on both. But I also wanted to also say that a lot of persons, they may eat small portions, but they may also eat it very quickly. And our body takes at least 20 minutes to recognize that food is in our stomach. So I usually tell persons to eat slower. So a lot of persons will eat in front of the TV, and when they're eating in front of the TV or watching something, you may not be aware of how quickly you're consuming your foods. And then you might feel like you're still not hungry, you're still hungry and you want something to fill you up a little bit more. So you go and you eat more. And then you realize all of a sudden you're so full, you have to be rolling over. But because you didn't allow your body to recognize that food is in your stomach and give it 20-minute period, then you become overfull. So it's important that you try to ensure that you pace yourself when you're eating. Take small bites in between, have conversations with your family members or the persons around you so that you eat slower. And this will help you with your consumption as well.
So your meal should not be less than 20 minutes if your body is going to take 20 minutes to recognize what is there.
Right.
Okay, this is very interesting. So I've been eating too fast. Maybe that is my
Yes.
problem. Ah, okay. So maybe that is why our parents would have us sit. That's probably why our parents had us sit around the table to, yes. All right. All right.
Yes.
Well, it's actually close to an hour, so I want to find out from you because I did promise you that I would keep you past an hour and an hour. But is there anything you want to share in closing to our guests out there? And anything you want to say in closing? Because I want to thank you so much for your time. Like I said, listen, it has been so good, and it's now like 59 minutes. And so I want to thank you for coming on and sharing all this information. The good thing with this is that even after today, the information is still there and it can be a reference
Right.
point to our athletes and persons just wanting to understand what good and healthy dieting is, and what they can do with minimal financial resources. It's not impossible to be healthy. It's not impossible to eat healthy. So, I mean, I give the last word to you in terms of what you want to share with persons out there who will be listening to this now and in the future.
Sure. So what I want to encourage persons to do is to be gentle with yourself. Don't be too hard. So if you try to set a goal for yourself, like you're gonna be eating healthy, do it slowly and make sure it's a lifestyle change and not just a diet that you want to do. Do make sure it's something that you want to carry on for the rest of your life, because you want you to live a long and healthy life. Especially if you're an athlete and know you have sports and different training to do, you ensure that you eat properly, get you enough rest. Your mental health is important. Make sure that you find time to relax, pray, spend time just focusing on your body, how it feels. Also focus on trying to ensure that you are healthy, and take time to spend time with other persons, your friends and family, because that's also important for your mental health. And I will also say have fun. Eating healthy doesn't have to be boring, doesn't have to be mundane, but you can have fun doing it. Find new recipes. I am always trying out new recipes every day. I look for them on the internet and I try them out to see how they taste and to test out something new. So adding variety to your diet in terms of trying out new foods is also helpful. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity to share with your viewers. And I say if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat, or you can also send email questions to your but you can put your questions in the chat. That's fine, and we will answer them from there.
There you go. So there you have it, people. Dr. Joanne Smith, nutritionist and lecturer at the University of the West Indies. I tell her that she's Jam Trini. She's Jamaican first. I hear the Trini accent there, but she has been here so long now that she's Jamaican first. This is my thing. I know she doesn't agree with it. She's Trini first. She's 70% Trini right now and 30% Jamaican. So want to thank you again so much, and keep doing what you're doing. I'm just sharing with persons how to maintain a healthy lifestyle, because again in these times it is very important. I want to thank all the persons in the comment section, all the persons who joined us. I just ask you to do one thing, all right? Share this video. Maybe you know someone who needs this information. Share it with them. Ask them to subscribe and to join what we are doing as we continue to provide good sporting content, covering so much, all across the sporting disciplines and in all areas of sports. Again, big thank you, Dr. Smith, for joining. And do you uh,
Welcome.
do you agree with somebody? Just ask one last question, and I'll take this because I don't know what this is, and then we will close after this
Sure.
question.
With the keto diet, no, I don't, because with the keto diet is not something that you can have for a long time. It's not sustainable, and our body needs carbohydrates to help our brains function properly. And if our body stays in the keto state or ketogenesis for too long, our heart starts to malfunction, our kidneys start to malfunction, and our bodies can't function as it normally would. So I don't agree with it. Yes, people see a lot of weight loss on the diet, but it's not something that's healthy, or it's not something that's sustainable in the long term.
All right, awesome. People, there you go. The next time I'm going to find out what the keto diet is, because I have no clue. I'm hearing about this for the first time. All I know is the bread and plant diet. You understand me?
The keto diet is just a diet that's low in carbohydrates. So it just focuses on protein and fats.
All right, thank you, Shatta, for your question. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Simis. I know you're a
You're
busy
welcome.
woman. Won't keep you any longer, but we will have you again, because I
Yes,
know questions
definitely.
are going to come up, and we will gladly invite you to come on and
Sure.
join us again. Okay, thank you,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
You are welcome. Please, if you have not again subscribed to the channel, and before we go, we want to again thank all our doctors, nurses, all the persons in hospitals. Listen, I have to do this every single time, and I'm hoping that they're hearing it, that we love and appreciate what they're doing. The police officers as well, who are helping to keep lockdown and curfews and no movement day without sometimes any place to buy lunch or dinner while they are on the job. So thank you so much for all your support. The teachers in the classroom who are providing education when they're, kids are struggling with internet access. Thank you for your labor of love. Listen, God bless you people. Stay safe, wear your mask, social distance, and sanitize. Wash your hands as often as you can. And where you can't wash your hands, use your hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizing or sanitizing your hand with those things doesn't eliminate the need to wash your hand. You sanitize when you're not able to, but as soon as you can, wash your hand. That is the safest way. All right. So bless you and have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful rest of the day. Some other person saying great and thanks. So thanking you, Dr. Simis and Dr. say really grateful for them. All right. So bless you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful rest of the evening. All right.
I am sure sports. You know me there, from coast to coast representing. I mean, I say this is righteous representing for Omar. You don't know, come get your sports over here from near and far. Boy, 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 boy. Me say I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. If me not sure, that me not say it. Know who score, that me not say it. Never know no game play, that me not say it. If me never seen a game, me no know who play. For your sports news, better come over here so. For your soccer news, then come over here so. If you don't love sports, still come over here so. For the day done, you a go love over here so.
So when it comes on to behavior concerning football, Jamaica is decent. I am sure that if we can get all of these things done, set in place by the end of April, it gives us enough time before the World Cup campaign. Not afraid of no Brazil, no Argentina with these crapper players. We are good enough. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Listen, comment, let me know what your thoughts are.